Congressman John Garamendi is a Democrat. He represents the state of California, and he joins us tonight. Congressman, thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you.
So the priority here, I think, is really revealing. All the things going on in this country, a lot of them bad, and Democrats in the Congress have said the one thing we won't put up with is not giving amnesty to 700,000 people here illegally. Why is that number one on the list of concerns?
It may or may not be number one. It is among the list. It is one of the issues on the list. There are others. There are the health care issues that are out there, the 9 million children in the Children's Health Insurance Program. Want to get that funded without cutting other essential health programs, which is the current proposal that's being put forward. So there are a series of issues. There's the health care issue. There is certainly the issue, DACA is one of them. Actually, we kind of stand with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on this one.
Oh, I bet.
They want us to solve
You're taking money from the same people. But I just wonder,
well,
like,
we
why?
Do?
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, this is a concern of big business, of donors. They want cheap labor. But
well, it's more than that.
Is there any economist you've ever met who says the key to prosperity is importing a lot of poor people with low levels of education?
That's quite different than the DACA issue. The DACA issue are young men and women, usually that came here as children with their parents. Many young children, 5 years, even younger than that. So they grew up here. They are really American in every way, except they don't have the papers.
Well, but their education levels are considerably lower than that of America.
Well,
they are. Actually, I have the numbers right here. 22% have a bachelor's degree. That's compared to 32%, 10 points below native-born Americans. Relatively few have even high school degrees, even though the majority are adults.
And many are in the military.
There are some in the military. But my question is, as a broader question of policy, we're in a high-tech economy. Everyone knows that skills and education are key. Why are we letting in 1 million low-wage, low-skilled workers every year?
Well, there's even a better question than that. Why did we spend $1.5 trillion and not a nickel on education, not a nickel on job training? We just did that today. And we set priorities today. We said the priority is to transfer a huge amount of money to corporations and to the super wealthy, the top 1%. 83% of all that money went there, and not a nickel for education, not for the job training. Then I
wonder why you're not holding up the government over that, or the fact that carried interest loophole is still in the tax code, which helps big Democratic donors, the hedge funds, the private equity guys. But you're not shutting down the government over that. You're shutting it down over. Okay, but instead, it's to give citizenship or legal status to people here illegally. I'm beginning to think maybe the motive is getting new voters, honestly.
Well, I don't think it's going to make a difference on the voting scale, but what does make a difference is that there are 800,000 young men and women that were literally raised in the United States that are going to be deported very shortly. This is an important workforce. 22% of what, 800,000? We're talking about what? Want to do the math?
It's a lot of people. I just wonder if, I mean, I don't think there's any person who says the U.S. economy is crying out for more low-skilled labor. It's just not. It's a high-tech. You're from California. I don't need to tell you that.
Why don't we talk about the agricultural labor program where there is a need for low-skilled workers?
But the future is not more people with fifth-grade educations. It's not. It's more engineers. These are not engineers.
The DACA question. Well, we're looking at somewhere north of 70,000. If it's 22% that have that graduate degree.
Okay, but it's still lower than the national average. But here, I guess, here's my question. The DACA question is unique because they didn't have consent when they came here. They came here as kids. But why should we allow their relatives in foreign countries to come here?
It's a reasonable question.
By chain migration. Why not just say, if you have a relative, you got to come the way everyone else comes when they want to emigrate to the United States?
Well, the chain migration question is a legitimate question, and it needs to be answered. And it needs to be answered in the context of a comprehensive immigration reform.
But how about in this? No, but hold on. The debate is now over DACA, and it's going to happen like imminently, right now. And so why not just say, look, we're going to give up on chain migration, e-verify. You should have to follow the federal law on immigration.
You're talking to a fellow that's been the #1 advocate of e-verify.
Well, amen. That I'm so glad. Why don't you convince your fellow Democrats that e-verify, end of chain migration, real border control, end of sanctuary city nonsense, these aren't crazy ideas. The public supports these ideas.
Well, there are many things that we can do on immigration policy, and those are some of them. Certainly the e-verify is extremely important. It ought to be there. There are other things that need to go along with that. And I'll give you an example. California is the largest agricultural producing state in the nation, depending heavily upon immigrant labor force. That labor force is literally not available today, but if you had the ag labor program, if you had a comprehensive review, e-verify, comprehensive border control along the way, and by the way, As ranking member of the Coast Guard Maritime, you really want to spend some money wisely? Put it into the Coast Guard. That's where most of the contraband is coming in,
but why don't,
and an increasing amount of illegal.
Nobody trusts Congress on border enforcement because they've lied to us for generations about it. We're enforcing the border. No, you're not, actually. That's why we have these problems to begin with. So why not just cool the temperature, reassure everyone that only the DACA people are getting amnesty by just saying we're not going to allow their relatives to come through chain migration?
I'm not going to debate that with you.
So you'd be for that?
Chain migration is an issue that needs to be dealt with.
Who's against that, though, I wonder? I mean, why wouldn't everyone be for that?
Well, I suppose somebody that is here that would like to have their mother or their father come in.
Yeah, but they're not voters, so they don't get a say.
They could be.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the point.
They could be.
It's to make them voters. That's my whole point.
No, they may already be citizens.
Right.
And I can give you a couple of examples of people that have become citizens.
Right.
And they'd like to have their family come.
Of course, and they can come. They can get in line with everybody else. Congressman, thank you. Good to see you.
My pleasure. Thank you.